We call the finance meeting to order. Is there any public comment regarding any items not on the agenda? Hearing none, we move to approval of meeting minutes of December 19th. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have topics for discussion. The first one is the East Penn LERTA County Ordinance. Solicitor Brennan, I believe, have forwarded us the copy of the special ordinance.
Right.
Okay, is there any discussion, any comments you want to make?
No, I modeled it after East Pennsboro Township's ordinance, and obviously substitute county information where appropriate. Met with Commissioner Hertzler earlier today. There's a couple points he wanted to go over with me, and he pointed out some typographical errors, which I've corrected. So I think everything's in order, at least from my standpoint.
Any board members have any questions or comments?
Just very briefly. First of all, one of the things, and I think the township had indicated that they wanted us to schedule this, I think, for next week, if I'm not mistaken. But understanding that there's an interest in moving this forward as quickly as possible, I think that's why we scheduled it here, because we have a certain period of time in which it has to be advertised before we can act on it. The ordinance says. So, Keith, what is that time frame?
The soonest we can do that is January 14th.
January 14th.
That allows for the required minimum of 7 days advertisement once we get it to the Senate for publication.
Okay.
So you're saying, Keith, we cannot take action until the 14th?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing is I hope that this leads to the right kind of development on the Summerdale property. We have, this has been something near and dear to me as a former township commissioner and now as a county commissioner. There's been different scenarios that have been presented for development. One of the things that I'm happy about is that there's no proposal here whatsoever with a new text amendment, to allow for warehouses on this site. They have been essentially eliminated from consideration, and I actually received verification of that when I attended the LERTA meeting and the development action on the text amendment. So that's the one thing. The other thing is preservation of the historic Miller and Longsdorff home that sits on one corner of the property. I'm glad that everybody from this board and township, everybody in the IDA, I hope, agrees that historic structure should be preserved. I would prefer that it be preserved where it stood for nearly 200 years, and I continue to hold that position. In fact, that was the reason for the agreement that, as far as I understand, is still in effect between the township and the previous owner of the site, Sylvia Wiki, and you're going to have to, I always pronounce his name incorrectly, so I'm not quite sure. But anyway, that the home was going to be preserved. He was going to receive some additional acreage as part of the land swap deed and deal that was approved some years ago, which I understand is, and which we heard at the meeting, is still in effect. So we'll see how that all turns out, but at least I'm happy to hear that preservation of this historic structure is not going to be sacrificed to development. I personally believe that it's going to be a huge expense to move the house. So at the end of the day, I hope that the folks who are involved in this project will consider keeping it right where it is. And then finally, I just want to mention that this ordinance does not speak to it, but I understand there is general concurrence with respect to the development of covenant that would be approved by the owner of the property, which is currently the IGA, that essentially would prohibit the developer and owners of the property from, once the LERTA tax break has expired, would prevent them from a period of time, 5 years, I believe, is the suggestion from running to the County Board of Assessment Appeals to seek a tax break, a further tax break once the LERTA tax break has expired. So, and I understand that that's not something necessarily we need to include today, but that in fact can be finalized in the days ahead. So, you know, we hope that this will help to spur the right kind of development, the Summerdale tract, and with that, unless Gary and Vince have any other comments, they want to make a motion to authorize our county solicitor to prepare and to advertise the LERTA ordinance, which we received a copy of here today.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Are there any other questions or comments? Gary? Okay, I'm happy with what's been produced. I'm also happy to hear that at a recent county public meeting, all parties involved stated their agreement that the Miller Longsdorff home will be preserved. So I know that land has been sitting vacant for many years. It is a burden as it is now, since there's no tax being produced. So property tax money being produced that the citizens can use. So before we take final vote, John, do you have any comment?
No, sir. The only question I asked is when would that, is there a meeting on the 14th, or would there be a subsequent meeting date for the adoption?
It would be the 14th.
It would be the
We
14th.
have a meeting the
I think
14th.
you have a
We have a workshop on the
Workshop.
10th.
workshop on the 10th, and then your
Approval.
approved meeting on the 14th.
Okay, so, and then time-wise, looking at your website, I don't think it's been quite updated yet, so. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments on the motion and the second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Okay, is there any other business we need to discuss? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned, thank you.